Oh, hello there, and welcome to Discovery Channel's A Closer Look. My name is Roger Hinkelstein, and I am the Professor of Medieval Studies at Oxford University's Irving campus. Now, today we will be taking a look into the medieval period and its influence on today's society. We will also be discussing totally unrelated cooking ideas at the end of this segment, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to Discovery Channel's A Closer Look. What a great title sequence, right? That's what I thought. Anyways, now let's take a look at a map of medieval Europe to see what we're dealing with. Oops, wrong one. There we are. As you can see, this is Roman Europe. After the fall of Rome, however, Europe was broken up into thousands of smaller kingdoms. Each one of these kingdoms was ruled by a king, and many had to fight to protect their small countries. One of the most prominent features of the people of medieval Europe was the use of the feudal system. The feudal system was a relationship between king, lord, and vassal. The king or ruler of the kingdom gave a good amount of land to the lords for them to govern. In return, the lord supplied the king with a knight to use as he saw fit. The lord gave chunks of his land, called fiefs, to vassals. He also gave them protection and guidance, while in return the vassals, or ordinary folk, farmed the land, paid dues to the lord, and gave the lord military service if called upon. This give-and-take relationship between king, lord, and vassal was a crucial part of medieval Europe and the feudal system. As you can see, there are three social classes of this time period: the king, the lord, and the vassal. But the vassal had by far the most population, so let's take a little closer look into their daily lives. Most of the time, vassals would wake early in the morning, go to the fields and farm. Then they would wake up again and go to the fields and farm. And then they would wake up again and go to the fields and farm. And then wake up and farm. And wake up and farm. And wake up and... I can't stand it. They woke up and farmed all the time. Also, the diet of the vassals was just as plain as their daily lives. Their food pyramid consisted mainly of bread. Occasionally meat was a possibility, but it was mostly just bread and wheat products.
Honey, I'm home. I got some bread. Honey, I'm home. I got some bread. Honey, I got some more bread.
Furthermore, there were no medical or scientific knowledge or technology back in the day, so there are records that barbers doubled as surgeons. Fascinating! Like mentioned earlier, a vassal could sometimes be called to defend their territory. This was the only time a vassal got to break their boring routine and get some excitement in their lives. This may be another reason why knights and battle were so romanticized during this period. Here's an example of a medieval battle to show you what it was like. Wow, that was such a cool video. But you know, one of my favorite things about the entire medieval period is that you never had to take a bath. In fact, the dirtier you were, the better you were. People liked you when you were dirty because they thought germs killed disease. So they never took baths. We've discussed the normal lives of the people of medieval Europe. But what we don't understand is that many of the stereotypes that we get about the medieval times comes from Romantic literature. When one thinks of a knight, they think of a white knight on a valiant steed. The knight rides through the dangerous forest, slaying monsters and creatures of the dark. Then, after his long journey, he comes upon a castle, where he hears the cry of a fair maiden. He must rescue her, so he slays the dragon, and rescues her from the tallest room of the tallest tower. This is the knight we all know and love. However, the knight that comes to my mind is King Arthur. Who is he, you might ask? I figured you'd say that. Well, he is the reason we think about knights the way we do. All his stories, all his quests, he is a big part of romantic literature in the medieval age. But we can't learn about him until we learn about where he came from. So let's get on with the story. Arthur was born to Uther Pendragon, the King of England. However, because of intense conflict in England and worry Uther's new son might be murdered, the king sent his son away with Merlin, a magician, to keep him safe until the time was right. It just so happened that the time was right when Arthur went to a tournament with his brother. There before him was a sword and a stone, and a sign hung next to it that said, "Whoever shall pull this sword from this stone shall be the rightful king." Many people tried to pull the sword out of the stone, but Arthur was the only one who could do it. Nobody believed him or revered him as king until the next day, when he pulled the sword out of the stone many times in front of a crowd, declaring his kingship. Ever since then, Arthur grew up to be one of the most respected and honored kings in all of romantic literature. One of the most famous Arthurian legends was the quest for the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail was the cup that Jesus Christ drank out of on the night of the Last Supper. People searched all over the world for it, going there and here and back and forth again, but nobody could obtain it, not even one of Arthur's knights. This is one of the most popular of all the Arthurian tales, and it parallels the growing Christian influences in Europe. Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope you learned a lot about how medieval times connects with us through literature in our lives today. This is Roger Hinkelstein here from Oxford University Irving campus saying thank you for tuning in. Have a good night. And oh, I forgot about the cooking tips today, so we'll get on to it next week, alright? See you next time. This is Discovery, a closer look.